If you've ever looked at your garden and thought, why does this same plant keep coming back no matter what I do? You're not dealing with random growth, you're looking at a pattern. Because here's something most gardeners never get told. The plants you keep calling weeds are often reacting to your soil like a report card. Not in a mystical way, but in a very practical biological sense. Certain plants show up because of compaction, others because of excess nitrogen, some because the soil is too wet, too dry, or simply disturbed too often. And once you learn to read them, you stop guessing what your soil needs, you start seeing it. Before we go into it, if you enjoy learning gardening in a way that actually makes sense instead of just pull everything green, subscribe now. This is the kind of knowledge that changes how you walk through your yard forever. Let's start with one you've definitely seen. You're walking barefoot or maybe mowing the lawn, and there it is, bright yellow flower, stubborn taproot, popping up in the exact same spots no matter how many times it's removed. Dandelion. Now here's the part most people miss. Dandelion isn't choosing your garden randomly. It tends to show up where the soil is compacted, where air and water struggle to move freely, and where calcium balance may be off. So when gardeners keep pulling it without changing the soil underneath, it comes back. Not because it's winning, but because the condition that invited it is still there. And that's the first shift you need to make, not fighting the plant, but reading the condition. Now move just a few steps away in a lawn or garden path, especially areas people walk on often. You'll notice another low-growing plant forming a tight rosette against the ground, with strong vertical veins in its leaves. Plantain. This one is even more direct in what it's telling you. Where plantain thrives, soil is usually heavily compressed. Think foot traffic, construction zones, dry hard edges of lawns, soil where roots struggle to breathe. And instead of breaking the system, plantain works within it. It survives where grass weakens, which is why it keeps showing up in the exact places you don't want it, but might actually need to pay attention to. Now let's pause for a second, because if you're already realizing your garden isn't random, you're getting it. Let's talk about something that feels completely different. You'll find it in rich garden beds, compost edges, anywhere soil has been left fertile and slightly disturbed. Tall stems, sometimes reddish, fast-growing, producing dense clusters of tiny seeds. This is nettle. Unlike the first two, nettle is not a sign of poor soil. It usually shows up where nitrogen is high, places where organic matter is breaking down, where compost has been, where fertility is actually strong. So if you see nettle, the message is almost the opposite. Your soil is not struggling, it's active. But here, where gardeners go wrong again, they remove it without realizing it's one of the clearest indicators of nutrient-rich ground. Let's go deeper. In cooler, moist parts of your garden, especially shaded edges, you might notice a small plant that spreads quietly, almost like it's filling in gaps left by everything else. Tiny white star-shaped flowers, delicate stems. Chickweed. Chickweed is one of those plants that doesn't announce itself aggressively. It appears when conditions are balanced: moisture, fertility, and cool temperatures. But there's a catch. When it grows too densely, it can indicate the soil is consistently moist and underutilized by deep-rooted plants. In other words, it's not a problem, it's a clue about how your garden space is being used. Now let's shift tone again. Some weeds don't just respond to fertility, they respond to structure failure. Take bindweed. If you've ever seen a vine twisting through your plants, wrapping itself around whatever is nearby, you already know how persistent it is. But its presence usually points to one thing: disturbed, low organic soil that hasn't stabilized. It's not appearing because it's strong. It's appearing because the soil is open, unprotected, and repeatedly disrupted. This is where most gardeners get frustrated, because pulling it doesn't solve the system underneath it. Now let's move into something more extreme. Horsetail. If your soil stays wet for long periods, drains poorly, or feels almost sour or lifeless in structure, horsetail is one of the few plants that will tolerate it. It doesn't show up in healthy, well-drained soil. It shows up where oxygen is low and water lingers. So if you're seeing horsetail, the issue is not weeds, it's drainage and soil structure. Now let's look at something that confuses a lot of gardeners, because it grows fast and looks like it's just taking over. Pigweed or wild amaranths. This plant usually shows up in freshly disturbed, nutrient-rich soil, places where the ground has been turned, composted, or heavily fertilized. It grows quickly, produces a lot of biomass, and fills space fast. That speed is exactly why it appears. It's responding to sudden nutrient availability and open soil. But in a tightly managed garden bed, it can compete strongly with young crops simply because it grows faster than they establish. Now let's tie this all together. Notice something important. None of these plants are random. Each one is responding to a specific condition. Compaction, moisture imbalance, nitrogen levels, soil disturbance, drainage problems, fertility shifts. They are not enemies of your garden. They are indicators of what your soil is already doing. And this is where gardening changes completely. Because once you can read these signals, you stop reacting blindly. You start asking better questions. Why is this area compacted? Why is this patch always wet? Why is this soil suddenly so fertile? Before we finish, here's something worth thinking about. Most gardeners spend years trying to eliminate these plants without ever changing the conditions that bring them back. So the real skill isn't removal. It's interpretation. If this helped you see your garden differently, subscribe, because next time we'll go deeper into how to actually fix these soil conditions naturally instead of just reacting to them. And I'm curious, when you look at your own garden now, which weed have you been misunderstanding the most? Because chances are, your soil has been talking to you longer than you've been listening.